The knockout phase will host the semi-final and go straight through to the semi-final. And then second in this group that contains Notts and Lancashire obviously will be at home to the side have finished third in the other group.
Aspinwall comes right up over the wicket and bowls, immediately off the back foot and defends. Pushed away into the offside. Welcome listeners on Sports Extra back to Welbeck Cricket Club, where Lancashire are probing away for some more wickets here. They've picked up 4 so far inside the first 17 overs of the match. We're in the 17th over now. 33 for 4. The Outlaws. We've got Tom Aspinwall bowling to Hasib Hamid. It's 4 balls, a nice shot, flicked away off his toes through mid-wicket. Bell quickly comes up from the boundary, sends it on the throw towards the keeper, and they do cross for a single. So Hamid moves on to 10, and the score moves on to 34 for 4.
There's only a little lad, George Bell, but that was one heck of a throw. He went high over the keeper. It's a good job there were a couple of teammates there backing up.
Brings Sammy King back on strike. Aspinwall over the wicket to King, drives nicely, but straight to mid-off. And George Balderson fields, and there is no run. A reminder of the wickets to fall in that kind of brilliant first hour of play from a Lancashire point of view. Rather torrid if you're a Notts supporter, and certainly if you're a Notts batter, because Slater and Martindale and James and Montgomery, the 4 batters out, all in single figures. 2 wickets for Will Williams, 2 for Tom Bailey, so the perfect start for Lancashire as Aspinwall is in. That's driven again, because a good stop by Stephen Croft is at backward point, and there's no run. And that concludes Tom Aspinwall's 3rd over. So we've had 17 now. Notts Outlaws 34 for 4. Then desperately trying to put together a partnership to try and rebuild the innings, to give them something to work with a little bit later on.
Yeah, there's still a little bit in the shed. Liam Patterson-White, Dane Shardendorf, the young keeper, Tom Loughton, who's had a 40-odd in one of the matches in this competition, Brett Hutton, and Dane Patterson, who was very much the thick of things in Notts' win over Kent at Canterbury on Thursday. Montgomery and Patterson, the last pair, arrived at the crease with 35 needed, and they got Notts over the line. So there's a bowling change at the far end, as we thought. Tom Bailey is having a well-earned breather. George Balderson, again right arm, medium fast in and bowls, and straight away just a little release on the pressure that's certainly been there for the first hour and 10 minutes, because the first ball is pitched up. It's on the pads of Hasib Hamid, and one of his favoured scoring areas is that mid-wicket boundary, and Hamid has just crisply clipped the ball away for 4.
Good looking shot, wasn't it, through mid-wicket?
He's had a lean time of things in this year's competition. Hasib Hamid 5, 4, 13, 15, 15 and 27 his scores. Next ball wide of the pegs and goes through to the keeper. The only thing you can sort of say about that from Hamid is that the scores have been going in the right direction. His 27, his highest score, came on Thursday at Canterbury.
He was captain of the team last year, wasn't he? The One Day Cup last year as well.
Yeah, skippered the side well, and I think the lads enjoy playing under him. But personally, it's been a bit of a run drought, although he's driven this on the offside now through extra cover for 4. So the wagon wheel in this over will show 2 boundaries all the way along the ground, scorching the earth as it went. One through mid-wicket and one through extra cover. Lovely shots.
It's always been a thing of beauty since he made his debut in professional cricket for Lancashire. The Hamid cover drive is a lovely thing to watch.
He's on to 18. Next delivery from Balderson. He's through to the keeper, and the finger is raised, and he's clearly got a tickle on that. And a couple of boundaries in this over, but Hasib Hamid has again not been able to stick around and make a sizable contribution, and Notts have lost half the side now with 42 on the board. Hamid out for 18, caught behind by Hurst from the bowling of George Balderson.
Well, you said, Dane, there is a bit of batting, of course there is, for Notts to come, but that's a partnership that Notts needed to kind of build for the next kind of 10 or 15 overs and give something for the likes of Patterson, White and Hutton, who could all come out and clobber it a bit, give them a bit of licence later on in the innings. It's another timely breakthrough for Lancashire. Again, that ball has just come back in a bit. I think it's flicked the inside edge of Hamid's bat and taken by the keeper. 5 wickets down. Torrid first half of the innings for the Notts Outlaws, and a pretty impressive one for Lancashire. They bowled beautifully, 42 for 5.
Looks a good track. That's the mystifying thing about it this morning. It's palish in colour, slight green tinge, but we've not seen the ball hoop around as much in the previous matches here. This is the 3rd match in this season's competition here at Welbeck.
It certainly has this morning, hasn't it? It's certainly moved about this morning. Certainly, just enough, isn't it? Off the pitch, I think, in particular, more than through the air. But it's just nibbled around enough, hasn't it? And I think Lancashire, set up by Williams and Bailey, have just put the ball in a good area consistently well, and it's done just enough to cause problems.
So the new man is Liam Patterson-White, left-hander. Another one who's had a fairly meagre competition. This one keeps a fraction low as Balderson goes round the wicket. It was left by Liam Patterson-White, and it was very close to the off stump, taken low down by Hurst. I think it was the fact that he left it and left it late that brought all the oohs and ahs from the fielders. Best score of only 21 in this year's competition for Patterson-White. He's better than that. Does have a century in first class cricket. This one is almost the complete opposite, wasn't it? It was a fuller ball, but it took off and was taken above his shoulders by Hurst. It's the end of the over. A successful one for George Balderson, even though he went for a couple of boundaries, got rid of a Seba Mead, and Notts are now 42 for 5, and that's after 18 overs.
If you look at the wickets and the manner of the dismissals, so caught Hurst twice, that's Lancashire wicket keeper, LBW twice, and bowled once, which I think probably is a reflection of the challenge it's been for batters.
Yeah, the bowled was Lyndon James, shouldering arms. So that was certainly, I was going to say partly, but solely down to an error of judgment from Lyndon James. It's going to be Tom Aspinwall to continue. Sammy King is on strike. Got a bit of a start here. He's on 8, defends this ball onto the leg side, and there's no run. BBC 5 Sports Extra with us, online with BBC Radio Nottingham and BBC Radio's Manchester and Lancashire. Glad to have you with us here in North Nottinghamshire. Blustery conditions. Had no issues whatsoever with any of the technology. 2 matches last week. Today the Wi-Fi's playing up a little bit. This one's steered to point where Stephen Croft will field, and there's no run. It remains 42 for 5. 250-ish has been winning score the 2 matches here, but 2 contrasting matches. Nick Gubbins getting a century for Hampshire when they batted first, and Notts folded cheaply, and then second time round Surrey getting 250 or so and went right the way down to the last ball of the match. Next delivery on its way now, short, and Sammy King tries to pull it and missed it on its way through to Hurst. Crowd, understandably, I'd imagine, predominantly not supporters, deflated at what they've seen. There was a lot of optimism, there was a lot of goodwill for the county amongst those spectators that chatted to in the hour or so before the start. Aspinwall in again to bowl to Sammy King, who's played here a number of times for not seconds, drops this on the leg side. Again, there's no run, with Lancashire sharp in the field. Leicestershire topping this group, going into this final round of matches in the group stage. They've finished 14 points from their 8 matches. As Aspinwall bowls, King drives, but again straight to extra cover. Hampshire 12 points from 7 matches. Leicestershire with the better net run rate, so Hampshire will need to win to defeat Kent, and probably need to, they'll be chasing later in the day. They'll know what they need to do, maybe to not only win that game but to get a better run rate than Leicestershire to go straight through to the semi-finals. Lancashire 3rd, Kent 4th, and Notts 5th at the start of play. This next one is just clipped to mid-wicket, fielded by Balderson, and there's no run. Again, there's no real release in pressure. There were a couple of boundaries in that last over as Balderson entered the attack. It looked as if Asiba Mir was just starting to find his reins, but his departure, and again it's looking hard work. It's the end of the over. It remains 42 for 5, so that's another maiden sent down, this time by Tom Aspinwall.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the factors that will please Graham Onions, who's Lancashire's head coach, in the one day. The 19-year-old Tom Aspinwall, having replaced Williams, who set off with 6 overs, 2 for 12. And Aspinwall's come in and bowled beautifully. Backed it up, 4 overs, 1 maiden for 5 runs. And that's clobbered away through the offside. That's going to be 4, over pitched by Balderson. Coming in to Patterson White, hammered away through the covers for a welcome boundary for the home supporters to enjoy. And the score moves on to 46 for 5 as we start the 20th over of the Notts Outlaws innings.
Lancashire win, they take care of business themselves. They go through to the knockout phase, irrespective of what happens between Hampshire and Kent.
Balderson around the wicket, left alone by Patterson White, taken by Matty Hurst, another 19-year-old in Lancashire's team, the wicket keeper. And again, there's no run. Yeah, they've won the last 2, so they've found a little bit of form, having lost 2 on the spin prior to that. They've bounced back well. They went to Guildford last Thursday and they beat Surrey, and then they backed that up on Sunday with a victory at Lords against Middlesex. Patterson White defends from a ball from around the wicket by Balderson, angled into him, plays forward and defends into the offside, no run. So that's basically been knockout cricket for them since that defeat to Hampshire, because they probably had to win the final 3 games and to try and qualify, and they've won 2 of those 3 so far. They've found a bit of form under a little bit of pressure. Balderson to Patterson White, full and driven. It's gone through Dame Villas actually, and out towards the boundary. It looks like it might bobble over the rope for 4. It does. Well, that's a rarity from the excellent standards of Dame Villas, but that got through his grasp and has gone for 4 runs, and that's brought up the 50 as well for the Notts Outlaws.
It was like a naughty boy chase for Dane Villas, because once it had gone through him, it was always going to go for 4, and he trotted after it with. He'd have been well aware all the eyes were on him. He wasn't going to get any sympathy from those Notts fans over in that far corner.
Balderson to Patterson White, just takes a little bit of pace off this delivery, just holds it back a fraction, pushed it wide off stump, and Patterson White is happy to leave it, the left-hander through to the keeper, and there's again no run. You've got 2 slips in place, Will Williams and Keaton Jennings. There's a point, and there's a cover, and there's a mid-off, mid-on, and mid-wicket. It's a fine leg. Way to our right hand side. Balderson again to Patterson White. And that beats it, that brings him forward, it spins him round a little bit, shapes away from the left-hander and through to the keeper. No run. It's a good delivery that by Balderson. Right arm round the wicket to left-hander, angled in and just tails away. Turns Patterson around and through to Hurst it goes. 8 runs off the over with those 2 boundaries to bring up the 50 for the Outlaws. 20 overs gone. 50 for 5.
Keaton Jennings just having a chat there with George Balderson, who just completed that over. It's going to be Aspinwall to continue from this end. Geoffrey Simon wondering what the non-stop squeaking is. We're in a tent, Jeff, in the middle of a field in North Nottinghamshire. As this is run to backward point by Sammy King, gets a single, and it's a metal framework holding us up, holding the tarpaulin up, and whenever the wind blows, the tent sways and the metal grinds and squeaks.
It's been quite a bit of this summer in marquees, Dave.
Yeah.
It's been a summer for marquees, really. Lancashire played quite a bit of cricket at Southport, so at Sedbergh. We had Championship and T20 and one-day games in Blackpool. It's been a summer of the marquee.
Here and Radlett, I think, last Tuesday, the only ones I have experience, but this is the third game here. Round the wicket comes Aspinwall to Liam Patterson-White, who blocks this ball up to mid-on. There's no run.
But it did get lucky because Lancashire's last match was at Lords, so
yeah.
The only one-day... In fact, that's Middlesex's first one-day match at Lords since they played Lancashire in 2019.
Good grief.
Not played a one-day game between 2019 and 2023 at Lords.
Was it well attended?
It was, actually, yeah.
Good.
It was. It was a good crowd in, yeah.
And that was
a good finish as well.
Sunday.
It was Sunday, yeah.
Aspinwall again. Umpire at this end is Simon Widdup, and clipped away on the leg side by Liam Patterson-White for a single. Takes him to 9, 52 for 5. Simon told me that he'd had a year here playing for the Welbeck club in 2015. So he knows all about the vagaries of Welbeck. Had some decent players over the years. Paul Johnson for a while was director of cricket here. They've had Kirk Edwards, the West Indian, former Test player. They've had Tom Longley, who's now a first-class wicket keeper. Of course, Jake Ball's club. It's Aspinwall bowls now. Run again to backward point. The old Welbeck Colliery Cricket Club, the club of Bruce French as he was growing up, the former Notts and England wicket keeper.
So Welbeck would be the kind of largest, nearest town, would it?
Well, I mean, we're only 6 miles at most from Mansfield, so that's the largest. And then I guess Welbeck would be larger than Suckhome or Spion Cop or Nettleworth or Church Warsop. This delivery is driven through the offside by Sammy King. Lovely shot for 4, and that takes King to 13. So a new list A best for Sammy King. Made 12 on his full debut on Thursday at Canterbury, but that was a nice shot. It was slightly over pitch from Aspinwall, asking the question there, just trying to get the outside edge, but the full face of Sammy King's bat, and it's driven away for 4 runs.
Good looking shot.
Very nice indeed. There's Aspinwall in again to King, and a repeat. Gets a bit of a cheer. The crowd are here. It's almost like they've been muted, but they enjoyed that one. Sammy King will have enjoyed that one. Back-to-back boundaries to end the over. 10 from that over. That might, well, almost certainly that's the most profitable over of the Nottinghamshire innings. They're 60 for 5 after 21 overs.
Well, the whole fans are pretty desperate here to see a little partnership put together, try and get something that could be deemed as competitive and give the bowlers something to work with. There's a good crowd in, predominantly not supporters. We had this at Guildford on Thursday, actually. It was sold out at Guildford, the match between Surrey and Lancashire, and it just wasn't a contest. Lancashire won by 10 wickets. And from a Lancashire point of view, great, it was an emphatic win, but it just so disappointing.
Yes.
It was such a good crowd, it was such a poor game. So hopefully, from a neutral point of view, and not supporters here, will try and get see a decent partnership developing. With the front foot by Patterson-White, and defending as Boddleson comes around the wicket to him, plays forward, defends. Picked up at backward point by Stephen Croft, and there's no run.
Will Williams at slip just whirled his arms around. I don't know if Keaton Jennings has suggested he might have another go.
Did he bowl 6 on spins? So he's got a few up his sleeve. Bailey's got a couple left as well. Boddleson in, was dabbed away down towards backward point again by Patterson-White. Stephen Croft fields. Don't be alarmed if you're watching the live stream. It might say Bladwick 4, but it is Stephen Croft playing his first one-day game of the competition. Told he wasn't going to bother playing this year. Coaching role with the one-day side, but injury to Josh Bohannon.
Yeah.
The old boy's back out there. Not got a squad number and a name for him on the back of his shirt. It's in the air, tries a catch, it lands safe as it's worked off the pads by Patterson White to deep square leg. Jogs through for a single.
Kind from Ray Burge, well done Dave and Scott, holding it together through pretty chaotic coverage, buffering wonky freezing pictures today and screeching metalwork. Shall I send some WD-40? Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? We've had 2 matches here against Hampshire and Surrey. The Wi-Fi didn't drop, the pictures didn't freeze, and all the rest of it. But today it's a bit.
It's Bolson's in to King, just pushes at that delivery. It snakes away past the edge of the bat through to the keeper. No run.
Temperamental Tuesday. That's what we'll call it here at Welbeck.
Well, as long as the pizzas come on time, that's all that really matters, isn't it?
I'm not entirely sure the group is decided by the quality of the pizza.
Oh,
but,
right. Okay.
Well, if it was, today would be a winner, I'm sure.
61 for 5 in the 22nd. And King looking to work it to the leg side. Thuds him on the pad, ball deflects away into the offside, no run.
So we've got to meet again, haven't we, in the county championship, you and I, in September. I think it's the penultimate round of matches at Old Trafford. Sides drew at Trent Bridge back in April.
Final ball of the over for Balderson, over the wicket to King, takes a quick single to mid-on. That's good running. Dart through for 1. King moves on to 18, and at the end of the over, 22 gone, 62 for 5, and that's Outlaws.
Yeah, I can remember when we were together back in April, chilly April. Throughout the 4 days of that match, we had in front of us on the desk that month's Cricketer monthly magazine, if you remember. On the front cover it said Lancashire the team to beat this year. That's what it didn't it?
He did. That was the.
And it was right when Lancashire didn't win any of their first 5 matches, but didn't lose any of their first 5 matches.
Spot on.
They were the team to beat.
They were unbeaten for the first 5 games. It was accurate reporting by the Cricketer magazine.
I think the feeling was that pre-season Lancashire were certainly going to be the one to contend with Surrey, as this is driven to mid-off and they go through for a sharp single shy at the stumps from Williams, who hasn't come on to bowl but has found himself now out of the slip cord and shied at the stumps, missed, and Sammy King is home for another run, moves him on to 18, 62 for 5. All seems a long time ago, doesn't it? But we do meet under the point and the new hotel at Old Trafford, 3rd week of September. Looking forward to that one. Aspinwall bustling in again, short, pulled away by Patterson White onto the leg side, and this will go away for 4 runs. Useful boundary for Liam Patterson White. Notts will take whatever they can muster together in this particular over. Single, where's the scoreboard? Because again I can't see. Can you see that board away to our left, Scott?
I can, yeah.
66, 67?
It says 63 at the minute.
I think it should say 67 in a moment.
It does now. It does now.
Aspinwall to Patterson White, stands with bat held aloft, pushes it up to Williams at mid-on. No chance of a run here. New hotel coming along, nearly finished?
Yeah, well, pretty much I think. I'm not sure it'll be open before the season finishes, but I think they're hoping that the rooms will be available kind of towards the back end of this year. It's not far away.
Aspinwall to bowl. Beneath the pylons here at Welbeck. Patterson White comes down the track, drags a shortish ball on leg stump down to deep backward square for a single. As far as the eye can see, we've got a row of pylons. One thing we're not short of is electricity here in the vicinity. Been here when the rain's falling, and you can hear it occasionally crackle off those electricity lines. Pylons stretching across the countryside. Aspinwall to King, up in the air and over mid-on, and one bounce towards us. Just missed our bijou marquee and has gone away for 4. Got hold of that one. A slap down the ground for 4 by Sammy King.
It was. Takes him on to 14? No, 22 now, I think. 72.
I seem to have lost the ball, Scott.
Ah, yeah. Been retrieved.
That's Jack Morley, who we've not yet seen enter the attack. You'd imagine he'll be getting his opportunity sooner rather than later. Aspinwall to King, digs this one out. Morley will do the fielding again, and Sammy King, big tall lad, doesn't need many strides before getting down to the other end. He'd got there before Morley could have a shy at the stumps. Profitable over 4 knots. No idea what the score is at the moment.
74, I reckon, with that single.
74 for 5. We'll take that from the knots perspective. That means 32 has been added for the 6th wicket, as another gust of wind threatens to, well, catapult us off into South Yorkshire rather than North Nottinghamshire.
We were at Blackpool this season for one of the games, and we had to be moved from our marquee because it was deemed to be unsafe.
Health and safety got in on the act, did they?
So we had to go in with the written guys, because the one that was kind of built next to the written tent was because it was a bit of a windy day, and they were a bit concerned it might not survive the day. This feels a bit more sturdy though, this particular marquee.
So Jack Morley is going to get a bowl. We are now treated to a blast of Dex's Midnight Runners in our ears from the studios of BBC Radio Nottingham. I'm sure it's not just a little bit of a treat because they know we both like Dex's Midnight Runners. I'm sure it's the prelude to an update. So here is the modern day Tom Hartley from the far end, the Succombe end. Bowls to Sammy King. First ball is pushed back to the bowler. Yes, it's a little breezy here in North Nottinghamshire, Kelly, and Notts have found it tough going in the hour and a half cricket that we've had this morning. This one-day cup match that Notts simply must win if they're to have any chance of going through to the knockout stages. 73 for 5. We're in the 24th over, our Notts Outlaws. They won the toss, opted to bat first, really struggled to put runs on the board in the first half an hour. Wickets went frequently, but we are getting a bit of a stand now with youngsters Sammy King and Liam Patterson-White joining forces. They've added 32 so far, and now a 6 hit by Sammy King, so he's enjoying himself. He's on to 30 and Notts a 79 for 5. First 6 of the match hit by Sammy King. Clearly he's a little happy, as they all have been, I guess, with the seamers coming out of the attack, because it's been very, very tricky here, but that one was helped away over the ropes. First 6 of the day. Morley tosses it up, and King drives into the offside, and we'll get a single past the diving Stephen Croft. Another single taken, and Notts have 80 on the board.
Well, they've found a little partnership here, haven't they? Best by a mile for Notts, desperately needed for the home supporters. Can they take it on a bit here, try and bat another 10 over, something like that?
Bat another 26 if they want. We're only in the 24th. Next delivery is cut away by Liam Patterson-White. He strikes the ball hard. Fielder away to my left doing the fielding there. Can't quite see how it is from here, but another single. 81 for 5, and is that 9 runs from 5 balls in this over? 8 runs from 5 balls in this over. I beg your pardon. Brings King back onto strike on 31. Just about to run a ball, and that's caught. Has it taken the bat? Hurst, the wicket-keeper, is claiming it. Can't believe it's not been given, but umpire Hartley says over, and nothing more. Wicket-keeper standing up there, took the edge and nearly fumbled it first time of asking, gathered the rebound and then was off to celebrate on his own.
Lovely ball, wasn't it, from the left arm spinner? Maybe he just thought, you know what, that's such a good ball, he deserves a wicket. But obviously not finding the outside edge, but the lovely left arm wicket taking delivery, that wasn't it? Just kind of angled in, pitching, turning away. The umpire says there's nothing on that. And yeah, the partnership kind of continues. 39 they've put on. Yeah, try and get up to kind of 35 overs, these two, and then it just gives Notts a platform to try and take another look, and they want some kind of ammunition, some kind of way of accelerating at the back end of their innings with sort of a little bit of powerful hitting to come. But they've made a start here, trying to piece things back together again. Bolson from around the wicket is in, keeper standing up, and through to Hurst, and there is no run.
So that queue of Lancashire wicket keepers growing ever longer. Liked the look of George Bell, seeing him for the first time this season at Trent Bridge. Liked the look of George Lavelle, saw him a year or two back.
Bolson around the wicket, bowls touched away by Patterson-White into the offside to George Bell, no run.
Both in this side but not keeping wicket. We've seen Stephen Croft keeping the dim and distant past. We've seen rather more of Dane Velas keeping wicket. There's a lengthy old queue, isn't there, to take the gloves.
Yeah, and the current younger crop are kind of rotating it a little bit. Hurst and Lavelle through the group stage. It's whipped away into the onside by Patterson-White out towards deep mid-wicket, and they get through for a single. George Lavelle on the deep mid-wicket boundary. Patterson-White moves on to 17. The score is 82 for 5. And we're halfway through the 25th over, so almost at the halfway point of the Outlaws innings. Sammy King on 31 from 33. Bolson coming in, slip in place, keeper up behind the stumps, he bowls right up over the wicket, worked away to the leg side. Harry Singh is on as a 12th man, he's at mid-wicket for Lancashire, throws in towards the keeper, and they jog through for a single. King moves on to 32 now, 83 for 5.
Bit of leg stretching going on now for some of the spectators. There's already a few clouds of smoke here, there and everywhere as the burgers begin to get fried. Bacon butties were going down a treat earlier.
It's run away to backward point by Patterson-White, just off a slightly angled bat, open face, and roll down to third man for a single.
One of the joys of outground cricket, isn't it? There's a couple of ice cream vans on the ground as well. There's of course the necessary bar inside the pavilion. Generally produces quite a queue in there.
84 for 5, Bolson over the wicket, and King drives up towards extra cover for a single, moves on to 33, and that completes the 25th over. And the Notts Outlaws are now 85 for 5 after 25 overs, so a partnership is worth 43 between Sammy King and Liam Patterson-White.
Yeah, they were 18 on the board, 18 for 3 at the end of the 10 over power play. So 67 runs in the 15 overs that have followed since then, predominantly scored by Sammy King and Liam Patterson-White. King on strike now. Morley, the left arm spinner from the far end, the Sukhum end bowls, and Sammy King defends that game on the Isle of Wight. We're pretty well for Kent at the moment. They've got Daniel Bell Drummond back from the 100. He's 66 not out. Harry Finch 28 not out. They're 129 for 2 as a attempted slog sweep by Sammy King. Hits the pad, an appeal from Morley, not given. Kent 129 for 2, also at the halfway stage, 25 overs gone there. Next delivery is driven into the offside. That's good work by Stephen Croft, aka Jack Blatherwick, who dives to his left and makes a good stop. It is Croft, he's wearing Blatherwick's kit
He's absolutely outstanding, isn't he, Stephen Croft?
Son of Blackpool, of course. Morley bowls and King will push this, and now, well, just for a moment they looked to be in a bit of trouble, didn't they, because King pushed it and set off. Liam Patterson-White, the non-striker, was less sure that the ball was going to beat the dive of the keeper, of the bowler Morley. I think he thought it might be stopped, and if Morley had got there, there'd certainly been a run out, because momentarily they were both stranded at the far end. Morley in now too. LPW Liam Patterson-White. He'll just deflect this to where the square leg umpire should be, but he isn't. He's at point. Single taken. Just ticking it over nicely. Morley to conclude his second over. Sammy King, who's been busy since arriving at the crease, will keep strike, just turning it away for a single. That's good from King. 88 for 5 after 26 overs, 3 singles during the course of that over.
Yeah, and without too much risk, isn't it? Just ticking along, just rotating the strike a little bit. And if they've managed just to calm things down, it was just wicket after wicket, wasn't it? That first 10, 12, 13 overs of the game. Ball was doing a little bit. Maybe the sun's come out a little bit now. We're an hour and 40 minutes into the match. Maybe whatever little bit of nip was out on the pitches, maybe just eased a fraction with the sun shining down. Bolson's in. It's off the back foot by King, pushed away into the offside. Croft again stops it for Lancashire at point, and there's no run.
Talking a little earlier, I think it was maybe whilst 5 Sports Extra had left us, they've been dishing out the awards at the Edinburgh Fringe for the best shows and the best joke, been told if you want some good jokes, follow Robert Wilkinson, so we'll have a little look at that later. Thank you.
It's turned away by King off his pads, having to play it from the crease. The keeper stood right up, but he's a tall man and he works it across his pads, a little flick of the wrist towards square leg for a single. Takes him to 36, and the score moves on to 89 for 5.
Because whilst I was having my boiled egg and my toast soldiers this morning, it was on BBC Breakfast that the joke of the Edinburgh Fringe was by a young lady who said, my new boyfriend told me he was a zookeeper, but I found out he's a cheater. And that got the award for best joke. Yeah.
Bolson right arm around the wicket. Forward he goes. Patterson-White defends to extra cover, no run.
Tumbleweed here, wasn't it?
I quite liked it. It was quite innocent.
It's your Christmas
sweet.
cracker sort, isn't it?
It's all right.
You wouldn't think there were world famous comedy festival, which essentially is what the Edinburgh Fringe is, they would give that as the best joke of the lot.
Bolson to Patterson-White, looks to drive, and does. He goes underneath Bolson's right hand, gets his hand down, trying to stop it with his fingertips, but just bouncing underneath. Picked up by Morley, who's at mid-off, and there's no run. 89 for 5, 27th over, Patterson-White 19, King on 36. Here at Welbeck Cricket Club, on the BBC Sport website and the app, and the live stream as well via Notts and Lancs website. Watching Bolson in, and that's full and driven. And Patterson-White fields at mid-off, and Morley's there. Sorry, Patterson-White drives to mid-off where Morley's there to field. And again, there's no run.
What's with the Lancashire and the all-blue strip this year? Is that a sponsorship deal or just
I don't know.
A variation on a theme? Because we have had Lancashire in recent years in all red in some competitions, all green in the one-day cup for a while. That was a sponsorship deal, wasn't it?
I think it was blue last year as well, but not quite this two-toned blue. Straight to ball by Balderson to Patterson-White, who defends from the crease. It's bouncing back down the pitch and gathered by the bowler. It's the end of the over. 27 gone. Not winning the toss, electing to bat first. 89 for 5. The partnership is worth 47 between Sammy King and Liam Patterson-White.
I reckon there must be 12 of the 18 counties, predominantly with blue.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue around.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lancashire did have this kind of lime green strip
I like that.
4 or 5 years ago. That was a sponsorship deal.
Yeah. So we had 27 overs gone, 89 for 5. Morley to start his third from the far end, bowls to Sammy King, who's already hit him for the only 6 of the day. Eases this now onto the pavilion side of the ground where George Bell does the fielding. That must be 75 yards easily, if not more, out to where George Bell is fielding. That's a big hit today to plonk one out towards the pavilion and over the ropes. That's a big hit. I reckon it's more than that, actually. Morley into Liam Patterson-White. Was that down the leg side? And King has again come a mile down, and for the second time a real miscommunication between the pair of them, which should have resulted in a run out. In the end, it's signalled as a wide by umpire Hartley. It was down the leg side. It was a wide, so clearly it didn't touch any part of Liam Patterson-White's bat or anatomy. The keeper fumbled it. King, from the non-striker's end, came down all the way down and was sent back. Balderson just couldn't pick it up and throw it to the far end. This time he's dived over to the top of it, George Balderson. Billy Williams does the fielding and they take a single.
Yeah, he couldn't pick it up cleanly, could he, Balderson? He was well out, and he picked it up cleanly, and any kind of a half decent return to the bowler, and he's a mile out. King.
They'd have been stranded. Morley in again, and King's got hold of this out onto the leg side, and it's been caught. Hit it straight to the fielder out there at deep square. George Lavelle as safe as houses there, almost in the little village of Spire Cop there, away to our left. And Sammy King has played very nicely here, 36 from 43 deliveries, and the 43rd one he's slog swept it. Would have gone for 6. It was taken on the ropes by George Lavelle, but never for a fraction of a second did he look like spilling it. And that's 91 for 6 at the end of the 27th.
Yeah, kind of went right down his throat, didn't it? Just took one little step backwards just to kind of get his balance set, so he wasn't kind of flat-footed. He got himself into a nice position. One half step back and took a good catch. Fingers pointing toward the sky, about throat height, something like that. Watching back on the replay now. Yes, good work by Lavelle. At the end of the best partnership by a mile in the innings for the Notts Outlaws. And the left arm spin of Jack Morley with the 6th wicket that Lancashire have prized out through the course of these 7 overs now.
Here is we'll just confirm his score. I said 36. I think it's 37 he's got. We'll just check on that for you in a moment. But Dane Schardendorf is the new man coming in at 8. Notts wicket-keeper batter. It was just after the 50 partnership had been brought up as well between Liam Patterson-White and Sammy King. Schardendorf, Zimbabwean, or Zimbabwe born in Harare, but very much settled in this country. 21 just a couple of weeks ago. Wicket keeper batter. Top scorer in this year's competition of 29 not out. Morley to bowl to him. First ball is just defended cautiously in front of him by the new arrival. Call him Shady. And Schardendorf, the real Slim Shady. Here is Morley with a wicket. Now bowls cut away to backward point past the diving Williams and away for 4. That's a nice way to get off the mark by Schardendorf. Just rocked back and timed it so eloquently and away for 4. Lovely shot.
Couldn't really have played it any later, could he?
Nope.
It was a proper late cut from Schardendorf, but good looking shot.
Takes Notts to 96 for 6. Last ball of the over incoming now. That one bounced, stopped, a little bit of turn, but plenty of bounce through to the keeper Hurst. 96 for 6 at the end of the 28th over here on BBC Radio Nottingham, BBC Radios Lancashire and Manchester, 5 Sports Extra. Now many of you are also following us on the live stream, which hopefully has settled down a little bit now. There's been 1 or 2 technical gremlins doing their level best just to try and spoil everybody's entertainment today. Most of the Nottinghamshire spoiling has been done by this excellent Lancashire attack. Bailey and Morley certainly set the tone early on, each taking 2 early wickets as Notts were reduced to 18 for 3, 23 for 4.
Here comes Botherston around the wicket forward. In defence goes Patterson White, and there is no run. Yeah, Williams 2 for 12, Bailey 2 for 13, Slater for 1, Martindale for 6, James for 2, and Montgomery for 3 were the first 4 wickets to go, and none of those batters reaching double figures. And he got to 18 before he was caught behind by Botherston, who's back into Patterson White, just back of a length and nudged away off the hip down towards fine leg, but no bat on that. Umpire already with his right hand outstretched to slap his thigh to tell us it's a leg bye. The score moves on to 97 for 6, but Patterson White remains on the 20. Sorry.
Yes, Martindale's score of 6 was his first single-figure score in this season's competition. Matthew Montgomery out for 3. He's been the in-form player for Notts.
Sharndorf's on strike as Botherson's in. It's off the front foot. Plays it nicely actually. He's going to get runs here. Just ease it away through the covers. Lavelle will chase after it. He might think of coming back for 3. Decide to take 2 instead. 99 for 6.
Yes, Dane Sharndorf was the leading run scorer across the second 11 championship last year, 2022. He's found things a little harder to contend with in 2023. But there's a quality player in there.
He's on strike, just turn around a little bit as he tries to work it to the leg side, just coming off thickish kind of leading edge, just loops back down the pitch, and there's no run. Stands there and rehearses that little flick to mid-wicket that he was trying to generate. Keeper standing up, 1 slip in place. That's Keaton Jennings at first slip, top left of the screen for those watching on the live stream. Appeal for LBW here. They fancied that, did Botherston. Again looking to work it to the leg side. Sharndorf not out, says the umpire. Big appeal by Botherston, backed up by Hurst. Of course, with the keeper standing up, the batter here completely kind of cramped for room, really. Can't use his feet too much and having to play everything from the crease, and that potentially brings LBW into play with Botherston, who's running in and bowling, almost going to wicket to wicket here for Lancs. It's dabbed away by Sharndorf and there's no run. I think it's the end of the over. It is. So Botherston's bowled 6 overs now, 1 for 25, 29 overs gone. Notts Outlaws 99 for 6.
One I meant to read a little earlier on the old Twittery thing, or X, as it seems to be now, from Rach, one of our regulars. First Welbeck fixture I've missed, she says. Always enjoy the trips there when the weather's alright. The Vicious Beast, that's her dog, the Vicious Beast and I will be tuning in now. Well, one of us will be, and one of us will pay attention in between naps. Vicious Beast. Are you a dog man?
Oh, yeah,
Scott,
dogs,
you like your dogs, do you?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Slobbery things as Morley bowls to Liam Patterson White. Eases this into the offside.
I presume the Vicious Beast means actually it's a bit of a
dog.
softie. Yeah, it's a bit of a softie, isn't it?
I presume at some point in recent history I've called her doggy a Vicious Beast. Notts reach a milestone, and almost a complete and utter indifference, and perhaps a little bit of sarcasm as well. Certainly a bit of relief. Notts reached 3 figures. They are 100 for 6 in the 30th over. Well, they talk about doubling the score, don't they, in one-day cricket after 30 overs. If Notts can somehow double this score and get to 200, they'd bite your hand off now if that was offered, as Sharndorf pulls this to mid-wicket for 4. That's a shot of real conviction by Dane Sharndorf, as again, thank you for all the suggestions that we need some WD-40. I'm sure all the lubricants are available. We're in a tent, folks, and there is a canopy held together by metal, and the metal is bolted together, and it scrapes and swings and blows in the breeze, and it makes a scraping noise. Next one is down the leg side. Will it be stopped? It will. Good work. Just inside the ring there by Tom Aspinwall. Otherwise that would have been 4 more. 105 for 6. It's funny, when we're by the seaside and you have seagulls squawking all day, you don't get people saying, oh, I just can't listen to it because of the squawking seagulls. Is it any different to the soothing, melancholic sounds of our tent as Liam Patterson-White plays a forward defensive prod onto the leg side, and there's no run.
Sure, it's something you'd use as a backdrop to try and fall asleep to, is it really? The ocean waves crashing in.
105 for 6. Next one is wide of the off stump. Patterson-White chops it away for a single. 106 for 6. Notts Outlaws have it on CD or something to help a baby get to sleep. Into the over. Morley didn't take too long to get through that one, so that is the halfway stage. 30 overs have gone. 106 for 6. Notts Outlaws, a match they have to win. Lancashire equally trying to get through to the knockout phase for the 2nd year running. Last year they met Notts at Blackpool in the eliminator round. And where did you go to? Hampshire, wasn't it? Was it Hampshire in the semi-final?
I've forgotten. There's Bobbleson around the wicket and driven to mid-on this time by Patterson-White, and there's no run. Sussex.
Okay.
Sussex it was. Yeah, they beat Sussex and then they played Kent in the final at Trent Bridge and lost to Kent in the final. Kent with a better team on the day. Definitely deserved to win the match.
Kent the defending champions then. They're 160 for 2 after 30 against Hampshire.
Bollison to Patterson-White. Just run down to third man. He's bowling around the wicket to Patterson-White. There's a decent amount of bounce there just outside the off stump, so just opened up the face of the bat, horizontal bat, and steers it down to third man for a single.
I was reminded the other day of an incident in that final last year when we were down at Canterbury, and they reminded me that the Kent wicketkeeper on the day chased a ball down to the boundary.
Bobbleson comes over the wicket and bowls. It beats Schaddendorf, who plays forward through to the keeper, no run.
Threw it back in, and Harry Finch picked up the keeper's gloves and caught the ball, and because he wasn't the designated keeper, it was 5 penalty runs.
That's right,
and that was I mean, if you knew that
on
the day,
no, did not.
Huge kudos for knowing that, but you don't get that very often. Of course, the irony is that Finch has now become the wicketkeeper.
Bobbleson to Schaddendorf, forward and defence, and there's no run. I think James Taylor was part of the commentary team that day, and I'm pretty sure he straight away called it. He got it. He said, "No, this is what's happened. There's a 5 penalty run because these."
Would it have been Ollie Robinson? Would he have still been keeping? Would it have been?
Yeah, I think he probably was
left.
Robinson.
He hadn't left to go to Durham by then.
No, I don't think so.
So he chased the ball down to the boundary, threw his gloves off.
Yeah. It's Bobbleson to Schaddendorf. That's off the front foot, just working it away to backward point. And there's no run. It's 107 for 6. Is 1 ball left to the 31st over, which is being bowled by George Bobbleson.
Yeah, we've been playing for 2 hours now here at Welbeck through 30 overs, coming to the end of the 31st. An update for Radio Nottingham in a moment. Schaddendorf gets another single, 108 for 6. Schaddendorf on to 12. And that's the end of the 31st, 108 for 6. BBC Radio Nottingham news is playing in my ears. Apparently the Lionesses have landed back in the country. Understandably getting a great ovation. Yes, Notts won the toss, opted to bat first here at Welbeck in a match that both sides know if they win they can go through to the knockout phase. And Notts are 108 for 6 at the moment as we begin the 32nd over. They were in all sorts of trouble early on, 9 for 2, 18 for 3, 23 for 4. 20-year-old Sammy King made 37. He's just been dismissed. Liam Patterson-White and Dane Schardendorf at the crease. Notts 108 for 6 in the 32nd over. Next delivery has gone through to the keeper, who can't take it cleanly. Remains 108 for 6. Morley doesn't take very long at all to get through his overs, in off a couple of paces, and this one's dragged away on the leg side by Schardendorf. Fielder out there, I presume, is Lavelle, away to my left. In fact, he's actually just out of sight, but I know he's there. Makes the stop, 109 for 6. Patterson-White on strike. Morley back over the wicket, left armour to left-hander. That's short, that will be pulled away. Work to do, but that's going to beat the fielder. 4 runs to Liam Patterson-White. And just a little bit of defiance coming here from the lower middle order of the Notts side here. Seba Mead made 18, Sammy King 37, Liam Patterson-White 27 not out, Dane Schardendorf 13 not out. They're the only ones to reach double figures. Next delivery driven down the ground to long on for a single by LPW. Takes him to 28. Brings Dane Schardendorf back onto strike. Where's squad number 89? Morley to conclude this over. This is his 5th on the pads of Schardendorf. Take a single, so Morley now 1 for 32 from 5 overs. Notts are 115 for 6 after 32. Yes, they're on the BBC Radio Nottingham 1 o'clock news, hearing about the Lionesses coming back, and again there's a little bit of a campaign to have a Mary Earps England goalkeeping shirt made available. And of course Mary Earps, for listeners in the northwest or round the country on 5 Sports Extra, Mary Earps is from Nottingham, hence the local interest and the local fury that you can't actually buy a shirt of the England goalie, which is a bit of a shame, I suppose. If there's young, well, you don't have to be young, but if there's people out there that would like a memento, a souvenir of the tournament, or just a big fan of Mary Earps, the England goalie, it would be nice to have a shirt available. We're going to get a bowling change as Scott Reed comes back to join me. It's going to be the man wearing the Blatherwick shirt, but definitely off a shorter run up than Jack Blatherwick, although we've got 2 Jack Blatherwick shirts out there right now.
Yeah, Stephen Croft into the attack, bowling around the wicket, and that's pulled by Schardendorf out towards deep mid-wicket for a single. Score moves on to 116 for 6.
And who's this one?
that is the real one. That is the real Jack Blatherwick. He's on as a 12th man for the Lancashire players. Yeah, Stephen Croft wearing Blatherwick's shirt. He's part of Lancashire's coaching setup for the One Day Cup this year, Stephen Croft. I don't think there was any intention he would play. In fact, he said that to me about 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to play. And here he is playing. Injury to Josh Behan.
Must-win game, that.
Well, I bring your experienced men in. Here comes Croft in the balls. It's off the back foot by Patterson-White, pushed away into the offside, no run. Get
Manchester Originals to call Calvin Harrison away from the Notts side. Bring your most experienced player into the Lancashire side. Wait.
Croft in, balls again. Patterson-White off the back foot, drives away through the offside. Bells at deep point to field, and they cross for a single. It's 117 for 6.
Scurrilous behaviour, Mr. Reid. Stephen Croft presumably looking to go into coaching as a post-playing career.
Yeah, I think that must be the. Well, he's done quite a bit already. Takes a bit of pace off this time to Schoendorf. That's pushed him to the offside, no run. He's been working with the academy boys. He's been kind of their fielding coach. Won't come as a huge surprise for those that have watched Croft. He is absolutely outstanding in the field. Swept out toward deep backward square leg on the bounce in front of Tom Bailey. There was a cry of catch. It was in the air, but it bounced short of Bailey. And they cross for another single. Score moves on to 118 for 6. Final ball of Croft's first over of the day. Patterson White on strike. Goes back and works the ball nicely off the back foot through the offside out to deep point for a single. And he keeps a strike. Moves on to 30, Liam Patterson White. And that's 33 overs gone. And the Notts Outlaws are 119 for 6.
Yeah, there was a time where we used to say it's so tough for players who've been around the county game for so many years to move into a coaching role. There's only so many counties and so many coaching positions, but it seems these days more and more there seems to be more positions available. You know, your head coaches, your bowling coaches, your wicket keeping coaches, your batting coaches, your spin bowling coaches, your fast bowling coaches, your vice and assistant spin bowling coaches and assistant coaches, your various franchise coaches, your blast coaches, your one day cup coach, and so on and so on. And it does seem, I guess it's a good thing. There's more opportunities for more people, but crikey, there's so many in a squad now, isn't there? Bowling change, and Will Williams, who was a very definition of economy and miserliness, if that's a word, at the start of the day, is going to come on this time from the far end. A couple of wickets in his first spell. He's going to be bowling to Liam Patterson White as we move towards the business end of this innings. Liam Patterson White pushes this square on the offside for a single. Let's move on to 120 for 6, and we really are going to need to muster another 70-80 runs minimum. Wouldn't have thought 180, 190, 200 would be anywhere near enough, but you never know. You've got to put a score on the board, and whatever Lancashire have to chase, well, now there's a little bit of pressure in that they've got to get there, and playing a miss from Schardendorf, although again the excitable Hurst celebrates a caught behind. Does either have very selective hearing or does like to have a little bit of kidology. That's probably 2 or 3 times that he's celebrated what he's believed to be a catch at the wicket. One was when he was standing up.
Well, he's got his captain to his right at slip, and Jennings went up, so
yeah.
Maybe you thought, well, I better join in because my skipper started.
There's Williams in again. Schardendorf drives into and through the offside. I was looking out there for George Bell, but it's Bell in hot pursuit, and the ball's won that race. The hare getting away from the greyhound, and it's gone for 4. Nice looking shot from Schardendorf, who's played one of the more composed innings so far in the Nottinghamshire middle and lower middle order. 120 from 22, 124 for 6. Not been too many boundaries hit today off Will Williams. Comes striding in again. New Zealand born, bowls to Schardendorf. Zimbabwe born. It's pushed out to George Bell, and there's no run. So on the offside, the only fielder outside the ring is here at third, Jack Morley. The deep set fielders are on the leg side.
Yeah, that was just the second 4 that Williams has conceded today.
Comes in again. Bowls to Schardendorf. Will turn this to square leg, get a single. Brings William Patterson White back onto strike, which personally I'm pleased about, because it'll mean that Keaton Jennings has to move, because he was stood at first slip there right in line from our Bijou marquee commentary position. You can clearly see now the left-handed Liam Patterson White, who's on 31. Top scorer in the innings, Sammy King, with 37. Patterson White 6 behind. Morley bowls to him. A delivery that Patterson White can only defend. The end of Will Williams' comeback over. 125 for 6 after 34.
Elsewhere, and in particular, there's 2 games we're keeping a close eye on. The game between Hampshire and Kent, because Kent can still qualify from Group A. The other group, Group B, qualification is all complete between the top 3 there, but it's just a case of who's going to finish where in that group. But to begin with Kent against Hampshire, Kent are 185 for 2. We're in the 34th over of that Kent innings. Daniel Bell Drummond is 95 not out, as Croft is in and bowling. Half an appeal for LBW. The ball off an attempted sweep. He's deflected down towards short fine for a leg by. 126 for 6. So Kent 186 for 2 in the 34th over against Hampshire. Kent trying to qualify from Group A, and the game that could affect who plays who is the Gloucestershire-Durham match in Group B. It's flicked away to mid-wicket for a single. 127 for 6 now, knots. So Gloucestershire are taking on Durham, and in the 31st over of the Durham innings, Durham are 166 for 3, with David Bellingham on 56. And Gloucestershire win that group, they'll get a home playoff place. That's worked our way down towards fine leg by Patterson White, and he'll come back for 2. Looks like big leg buys. No bat on it, just a little deflection off the thigh pad, and he hurries back for 2 of them. The score moves on to 129 for 6, and Patterson White remains on 31.
Yeah, Warwickshire playing today top that group, don't they?
Croft asking for an LBW as Patterson White down on 1-0, looking to try and slog sweep it. Not out, saves the umpire.
They've got such a good net run rate that Warwickshire, I think whatever they do, they'll win that group. It's whether Gloucestershire can get past Worcestershire.
Yeah, win for the Gloucester boys in Bristol will put them to second. If Worcestershire get a home playoff game, it's just waiting for Patterson White, who has been hit in a delicate area, to get himself back up and ready. But that home game for Worcestershire will be on Sunday, not Friday. So Croft is in and bowling. Again, that's clipped away to backward square leg for a single. Patterson White moves on to 32. It's now 130 for 6.
I saw that. Do we know why?
Yeah, because Worcestershire play New Zealand in a T20 match on the Friday night at New Road. So they have to play their home playoff match on the Sunday instead. Sharndorf drives Croft's final ball of his second over, and just drives it through mid-off for a single and keeps a strike. Sharndorf moves on to 22. That is 35 overs gone. It's 131 for 6.
So Notts have not got a lot left in the shed as we go into the final 15 overs. Tom Loughton, who was a close season signing from Yorkshire, seen a little bit of him with the bat. He's had one decent knock, and that was at Radlett the other day, where he made 44. Brett Hutton and Dane Patterson will bring up the rear, and both of them, on occasions you might see them leather the ball out of the ground, but Notts will certainly be hoping they're not left with a good chunk of these 15 overs to bat. Here comes Williams round the wicket, bowling to Patterson White, and he's turned this onto the leg side. George Bell doing the fielding. There's only a single. Good fielder, really good fielder. Hurls a ball into the gloves of wicketkeeper Hurst from, as I say, 70-75 yards away minimum. Really good throw. 132 for 6. Williams into his 8th over now. 2 for 19 his figures. Dismissed Ben Martindale and Lyndon James in his first burst. Comes in, passed on by Hartley, bowls, and Sharndorf will pull this on the leg side, and I don't think there's any protection out there. It's gone for 4, short of a length, and Dane Schardendorf quickly onto it. Good aggressive pull away for 4.
Yeah, it's a deep square leg, which is Lavelle, but as soon as I got past the short mid-wicket, and enough on that to reach the boundary, Lavelle couldn't get across the ground, probably at least 40 yards to try and make up.
Comes Williams in again to Schardendorf, strikes him on the back pad, not in line. The inclination or first feeling was it was probably sliding down, but whether the live stream, whether the pictures would tell a different story, I'm not sure, but it didn't seem to have that much going, just didn't look right.
No, it didn't, and Williams kind of joined in a little late, didn't he? Hurst went up and Williams joined him, so it wasn't convincing really from the ball up. I'm with you, looking at it from this angle, I've just been sliding down the leg side.
On 36 for 6. Next ball is deflected nice and fine by Schardendorf. This one will be cut off, but they'll come back for 2. Hurst almost apologising to Schardendorf as he shoves him out the way to collect the return, or try and collect the return. Notts were 91 for, well, they were 42 for 5, 91 for 6. They're now on 38 for 6. So the last couple of wickets have put on 96 runs so far, as Schardendorf makes that 97 runs for the last 2 wickets. They're going to push for 2. Morley's return by the stumps. That's really good running from Dane Schardendorf. Had to put the afterburners on to come back and make sure he wasn't in a bit of trouble. Don't know if Jack Morley could have done any more, really. Got the ball and fired it in. It was a good throw.
Yep.
140 for 6. Schardendorf on to 30. Nice little innings from him. We'll push this next one though to mid-wicket. Nothing doing there. End of the 36th over. 140 for 6. Williams went for 9 from that over. He's now 2 for 27 from 8. So there are lots of options still open to Keaton Jennings. Nobody bowled out as yet.
Yeah, I think Bailey's got 2 left, hasn't he? He's bowled 8 on the spin at the top, Tom Bailey.
Yeah.
He's got a couple left.
I was just looking, yeah. Williams 8, Bailey 8, Aspinwall 6, Balderson 7, Morley 5 and Croft 2.
Croft's given them an extra option here because they only used the 5 bowlers on Sunday. Through the course of that game against Middlesex, Croft comes around the wicket, punched through mid-on for a single. Score moves on to 141 for 6. Yeah, they used Williams and Bailey and Balderson and Aspinwall and Morley, the 5 used on Sunday, but they've got another bowling option in their team now with Croft, who's bowling his kind of off spin, whipped away to the leg side by Patterson White. Good start by Keaton Jennings at mid wicket, and there's no run. But he does bowl it quickly.
Yeah.
Doesn't try to give it any kind of loop or air. It's kind of flat and darted in really by Croft.
There is an element in his delivery where momentarily, and I'm talking about a fraction of a second, he stops.
Yes. Yeah, he's got quite a jaggy approach, hasn't he? Just kind of holds it there for a second and in and bowls, and that's off the back foot by Schardendorf. And Croft puts in the belly flop trying to stop the ball.
Well, surely that ball was past him before he'd made the decision to dive.
Good. It's a valiant effort from experienced Stephen Croft.
50 partnership is brought up. There are 1 or 2 knowledgeable spectators that have just...
Second of the innings out for Notts as well, much needed. A fuller ball and driven this time straight to extra cover where Jennings fields, and there's no run.
I don't know, is it a case that this pair are playing well as the ball got softer?
Croft in, chopped back down the pitch by Patterson White on the bounce, back to Croft. It's the end of the over. We've had 37, 142 for 6. It's a second successive half-century partnership. First Sammy King and Liam Patterson White putting on 50, and now Liam Patterson White and Dane Schardendorf have put on 50 as well between the pair of them. So a bit of fight back here by Notts.
To answer my own question, obviously the ball has got a little softer. It's just become a little easier to bat. Clearly the decision has got to come at some stage as to how not negotiate these 13 overs. Schardendorf and Patterson White having a chat now seem to have been content really just to take what's there during this partnership. Will they look to just carry on in the same vein for the next 10 overs and the last 3 try and go hell for leather? There's a little shot there of 3 players all loosening up all at once, one of them being Jack Blatherwick. He's not going to get a bowl, but it is going to be Aspinwall to come back from the Sucombe end. Here he comes, bustling in, right arm medium fast bowls wide of the off stump, and Schardendorf lets it go through to the keeper, and it's called a wide. So an extra run, extra delivery as well will be sent down. So Tom Aspinwall's loosener at the start of his second spell was exactly that, very wide of off stump. Been pretty disciplined throughout Lancashire. Aspinwall bowls, full toss this time, drilled to the captain at extra cover, and there's no run.
Yeah.
Keaton Jennings, I think, stopped it and then just took a moment to almost let everybody know that one stung a bit.
I think he went for his Yorker there, Aspinwall, didn't quite get it right.
Looks to hit the ball very hard, Schardendorf, in most instances. Aspinwall to bowl to him on this time, as if to say, I'll show you, Bracegirdle, with very, very soft hands and very late. Just chops it down to third, where Morley does the fielding. Gets another single, 144 for 6, Schardendorf on to 32. Left-handed Liam Patterson White back on strike. Aspinwall bowls. That's a full toss, and that is absolutely smashed back past him by Liam Patterson White. Reacted quickly. There'd have been no premeditation about that. He can't have been expecting a knee-high full toss to have been sent down, and he reacted, as I say, very quickly and slammed it back to the onside of straight past the bowler for 4. Been a little looser in this over Aspinwall than he was earlier on.
Yeah.
Patterson White on to 39. Next delivery on its way now, and he's bowled him! That's better from Tom Aspinwall. Patterson White backing away, trying to give himself a little bit of room, and it's just clipped the top of middle stump, sent both bails soaring into the sky, and Notts lose their 7th wicket in the 38th over, 148 for 7. Liam Patterson White out for 39. It's a top score in the innings, but they needed him really to stay there until the end and put a decent start into a very sizable contribution, but not to be. He's gone for 39, Notts 148 for 7 with 12 overs and 2 balls left.
I think he's batted well though, hasn't he?
Yes.
And under the circumstances here for Notts, the team's in all sorts of problems, in a bit of disarray really. After kind of a dozen or so overs, he's managed. He's been at the centre of the 2 best partnerships of the innings. Twice Patterson White has managed to get half-century partnerships, but on both occasions Notts can't go on and get that 50 partnership and go on and make it a 70 or an 80 partnership and give them a possibility of trying to accelerate at the back end of their innings. But I think he's batted well on a day that's been pretty tough going so far for batting.
Here's a man of York. A man of York would like to come out there and down the Red Rose, I'm sure. Tom Lowton, winter signing from the White Rose. See him later on with his extraordinary run-up. Be interesting to get Scott's take on Tom Lowton's run into the wicket.
Where does he start from?
Well,
somewhere in Derbyshire or something? Or?
We'll have a little look at that a little bit later on.
Okay.
I don't want to... no spoilers. Here's Aspinwall. 2 balls left in this over. Bowls to Tom Loughton. That's wider. Off stump, goes through to the keeper. Brian Jackson, nice to hear from you. Brian, lovely, gritty, honest cricket this day. Nice venue, enjoying it. Strange to see Warsop Main Road in the background. And your mention of Spy & Cop. Thank you. You're very welcome, Brian. One of our regulars here on BBC Radio Nottingham. And, of course, joined today by BBC Radio's Lancashire and Manchester, and 5 Sports Extra as Loughton gets behind this solid looking delivery from Aspinwall, who ended his over much better than he began it. Began wide and dot and 1 and 4, but then wicket dot to conclude. 148 for 7 with 12 to go.
Durham have lost a 4th wicket in their match against Gloucestershire. David Bedingham is still there. He's 63 not out. Johnny Bushnell's been run out by Ollie Price. So Durham are 176 for 4. That's the 35th over of the game at Bristol. Gloucester should know if they can win that game in front of their home fans today, and they'll get a home playoff fixture in the next round, which will be on Friday before the semi-finals take place the following week. And Kent still going along very nicely at 218 for 3, with Daniel Beldrummond 127 not out. So it's now 226 for 3, Kent, in the 38th over of their game. That match is taking place, I think, on the Isle of Wight.
Yes, at the new close ground, yeah.
Good start for Kent, who have to win their fixture and hope that not to win here, really. That's another wicket. Morley bowling to Sherendorf, who's gone back to try and cut it, and he's been bowled. And Notts at 8 down, 148 for 8. Morley picks up his 2nd wicket. And Sherendorf going back, looking to cut. And the ball flicks the top of the off stump. Bale's dislodged. And 2 quick wickets after seeing the biggest partnership in the innings, which was worth 56. And that's been undone by 2 quick wickets. It's 148 for 8 now.
Yeah, anything else now is a bonus for Notts, because quite frankly we are down to 9-10. Jack, Tom Loughton and Brett Hutton. Just Dane Patterson to come. And Lancashire very much in the box seat, unless there's some bewilderingly good bowling and catching and fielding from Notts, and some woeful batting from Lancashire. The Red Rose will be fancying their chances, I'm sure, and will be highly fancied to chase down whatever target is set now. It's going to be sub 200. You'd pretty much put your last threepenny bit on that, wouldn't you? 148 for 8. Now there's still best part of 12 overs left, but it's going to have to be something that the likes we've not seen of before from Loughton, Hutton and Patterson to get Notts up anywhere close to 200.
Well, Hutton joins Loughton. Morley 2 for 32. First ball that of his 6th over. And he's got Hutton on strike, so 148 for 8. We're in the 39th over. Morley left arm around the wicket balls and defended by Hutton. Back to Morley, who darts away to his right to field off his own bowling. Loops back round behind the umpire and starts to bounce his way back in again to Hutton. Plays nicely off the front foot and gets a single this time, pushed away through mid-off for 1. 149 for 8.
Is that Croft on the ground again?
It is.
Loves a dive.
He does. Yeah, he does.
It's rather closer to that one than he was off his own bowling. 3 overs, none for 9 for Stephen Croft.
Morley to Loughton, goes back and defends. Ball bouncing back down the pitch. The wicketkeeper Hurst comes from behind the stumps, scoops up the ball and lobs it back to Lancashire's left-arm spinner, who's clutching the ball close to his chest and strides in now past the umpire. And Loughton waits and plays forward and takes a single to mid-on. Hutton wasn't certain at first, but then realised that Balderson was back towards the boundary. And that single brings up the 150 for the Notts Outlaws. 150 for 8. As Morley bowls and Hutton turns it to the leg side, and Lancashire's captain Keaton Jennings is at mid-wicket to field, and that's the end of the over. So I think a couple of runs off it. The wicket as well with the first ball of it. We've had 39 overs now, and Notts are 150 for 8.
Probably a good lunch today over in the hospitality marquee. Committee members of Nottinghamshire, and I'm sure their Lancashire counterparts, all sat outside at the far end of the ground. Perhaps even time for a bit of fizz. I'd imagine there'll be one or two corks that have been popped over at that end of the ground.
Oh, blimey. Well, why not?
Exactly, why not? Yeah. It'll be Tom Aspinwall again. In to bowl now to Tom Loughton. This one's eased into the offside, and there's no run. A recent encounter against Somerset, Anthony Gibson, the commentator who covers all the Somerset games, and he'd done a bit of a canvassing around all the county grounds and worked out there's more Toms in the county game than any other first name now. There's Aspinwall. Tom bowls to Loughton. Tom, it's steered to. Well, it's not. It should have been Tom Bailey really if it had followed suit, but it isn't. It's Croft who gets there first. But there's more Toms around than anybody else apparently. 150 for 8. 10 overs after this one. Next delivery. In now. Loughton will get a run this time past the diving Croft.
Just runs it off of the open face of the bat, didn't he? Managed to get it beyond Croft, who's back with a point. But dive into his left, couldn't get a hand on that. Through they go for a quick single.
Just a word from producer Kirsty for those of you that are watching the pictures, watching the live stream, that has had one or two issues with the North Nottinghamshire conditions today. I'll tell you in a second. Aspinwall's going to bowl here to Brett Hutton, and slightly short of a length. He went to pull that one, but it kept low, so he had to readjust. During the half-hour interval between the Nottinghamshire innings and Lancashire innings, we will be doing a complete reboot of the system, just to try and get it back on track, and hopefully it should all be synced up and working properly. So if during the interval, or certainly before the second innings starts, if you can just give it a bit of a refresh on your device. As Hutton gets his second run, turning it on the leg side. 152 for 8, and that literally is as technical as I'd get. Give it a bit of a reboot and a refresh, but producer Kirsty said that's what they'll be doing. So if you're watching the pictures sometime during the interval, give her 5 minutes to eat a pizza, and then she'll be rebooting everything. 152. We can smell them, Scott. We can smell them. 152 for 8. As the next delivery is worked to mid-wicket by Tom Loughton. Lancashire bustling through these overs quickly, and we're through 40 now. 152 for 8. So not an awful lot to take into the third and final power play here, certainly in terms of being able to try and increase the run rate. We're lucky to get through the 10 overs in truth. Loughton has 2, Hutton has 2, and only Dane Patterson to come. It's going to be a case of, I think, eking out what they can get for maybe the first 5 or 6 overs of this final power play, and then maybe just try and swing the bat in the last 3 or so. 152 for 8.
So it's a great credit to everybody involved in getting actually game on the live stream, getting the game broadcast on the BBC website and on Sports Extra. It's not easy, is it, when you come into grounds? It's not quite set up for it. There's Morley comes left arm around the wicket. It's the back foot by Hutton to defend, no run. So valiant effort by everybody involved in the live stream, and the engineers have been able to get us on air as well. Morley to Hutton. It's pushed away to mid-on for a single. He moves to 3, 1-5, 3 for 8.
Yeah, the annoying thing is that it's not missed a beat in either of the first 2 matches here.
Loughton on strike, Morley to Loughton off the back foot and pushed away into the offside, no run. we had one or two complications in Blackpool for the championship match. We had an issue with the generator right at the end of the 4-day match. We had to quickly relocate to the pavilion and find a way of broadcasting. Forward goes Lowton, defends, no run.
Who was that against? Was that Essex?
That's against Essex, yeah. So one of the Lancs TV crew were all finding a way to get us back on air.
But that was a tough week, wasn't it? Week in Blackpool.
Morley to Lowton. It's just looped away into the onside, and there is no run. A week by the seaside, yeah, happy days. Well, apart from 3 of the 4 days were good. We absolutely tipped it down for one of the days, so it wasn't much fun, really.
Was it well attended on the good days?
It was, yeah, it was. First 4-day game there for over a decade in Blackpool. Lowton goes deep in the crease, trying to force the ball away through the offside. Stopped at point, end of the over. Again, Morley's rattled through another pretty quickly, just a 1 run off it. 1-5-3 for 8, 41 overs gone.
Anybody hit one into the zoo or into the creche?
I think Dan Lawrence did his best. He was teeing off at one point and hit it out the ground about 4 or 5 times. It quite made the zoo, but maybe it wasn't too far away from it.
It'll be Tom Bailey to come back into the attack. Tom ball to Brett on this particular occasion. Brett Hutton on strike has 3. Tom Lowton has 2. 9 overs to go. Let's have a look how many are deployed outside the ring. They've certainly not got 5 out the ring. 4 at most. I think it's 4 outside the ring. So here is Bailey. A couple of wickets at the start of the day, and Brett Hutton looking to drive down the fairway. Misses the first ball. Very expansive looking drive. Likes his golf, does Brett, and that was definitely a case of getting the driver out the bag, throwing everything at it. Couldn't. Bailey, where's squad number 8? And he comes past umpire Hartley, bowls to Brett Hutton, who again looks to drive. May have been inside the line there, but he certainly went through the shot. A couple of dots to begin the over. 153 for 8.
Durham have lost a 5th wicket now. David Benningham run out for 64, run out by Chris Dent. So 189 for 5 in the 37th over, Durham.
Bailey to Hutton, strikes him on the back pad, not given out despite the confident appeal, and it's just a leg by. Might have been quite close, but umpire Hartley, best position to judge, says not out, so 1 more to the total. Brings Lowton down into the firing line. Only 2 from 12 balls. Well, happy memories, I'm sure, of his last innings here, where he needed 4 from the last ball to defeat Surrey. Danced down the track to Dan Moriarty, missed it and was stumped, and that was that. Notts had lost by 3 runs. Would have been 1 wicket win had they got over the line. He drives this up to Aspinwall at mid-off, and there's no run. There's a W in there, isn't there? Aspinwall, unlike Nathan Aspinall, the darts player from those parts. I think he's actually Stockport based, isn't he, Nathan Aspinall? 154 for 8. Bailey bowls. Lowton again just can't get it away. Stephen Croft, the evergreen Stephen Croft, doing the fielding.
Yeah, what have we got left here? 8 will be after this delivery from Tom Bailey. 8 remaining, 154 for 8.
This one through to the keeper.
Yeah, just complete the 42nd over. 154 for 8. Just have a little look. I mentioned that Durham game, so Gloucestershire, knowing a win for them against Durham today in Bristol, will secure them a home playoff place, or qualifying match, whichever way you want to describe it. And Durham are 189 for 5 in the 37th over, and Kent know if they can win, and if it goes their way here, then they'll sneak into the playoff places. Daniel Bell-Drummond is 142 not out from 125 balls, 10 fours and 5 sixes.
Doing his bit.
He is, isn't he? Getting to 271 for 3 after 41 overs, taking on Hampshire.
Yeah. I can imagine that's having been there for a 4-day match, I can imagine that's a high-scoring, grounding, limited overs cricket. Here's Morley, round the wicket, bowls, and Brett Hutton trying to force it into the offside, or certainly into a gap, but he can't. It comes off the thickish outside portion of the bat to short third, no run. Morley already back to his mark. Comes in and bowls. This one's got into the offside, no run. Just can't get it away along the ground. I wonder if Brett Hutton or Tom Loughton or both might try the aerial route. Neither of them look to do that yet. That's George Balderson just in front of the Bijou marquee here doing the clapping. This one's driven crisply this time through mid-off, and they will get a single.
Bijou mean like fancy, posh or something? Is that what it means? Bijou?
Yes.
I'm unfamiliar with it. Bijou marquee. It's like a
Yes.
posh marquee.
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
High class marquee.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just don't tell anybody the truth. Next ball is driven in the same spot, down to long off by Tom Loughton. 156 for 8. And 43rd over. Morley. Again, Hutton can't get it away. 1:45. There was a time early on in this innings where I very much doubted Notts would still be batting at 1:45, let alone 1:45. 9 for 2, 18 for 3, 23 for 4, 42 for 5. Very much up against it. Still there, 156 for 8. Morley in now to bowl to Brett Hutton. Cuts this away, will get another run out to Lavelle in front of the deck-chaired fans away to our left. The houses in the village of Spion Cop behind him. End of the over, 157 for 8. Hutton will keep strike. He's got 5. Tom Loughton has 3.
Keep mentioning and referring back to the games between Hampshire and Kent and Gloucestershire against Durham. Of course, there are plenty of other matches. Essex against Surrey, Middlesex, Yorkshire, Derbyshire, Somerset, Glamorgan, Northamptonshire, Sussex against Warwickshire in the One Day Cup. Got some commentary of every single one of those games via the BBC Sport website and app, but many games with really something on it. Games here, the game between Hampshire and Kent, and Gloucestershire and Durham. Bailey's in. Hutton launches the ball out towards the leg side, in towards the crowd. And it's gone for 6 for Hutton. They had one or two spectators in their deck chairs darting out the way of that as that was clobbered out towards mid-wicket.
Yeah, Brett just started walking out there, I think, just to make sure that everybody's okay, and he's got the thumbs up. I think just for a moment they just wondered if it had gone in amongst the spectators, and just maybe a bouncing cricket ball around had caught somebody, but he's got the thumbs up, everybody's okay.
163 for 8. Bailey in and balls to Hutton. Just nudges the ball out to square leg. Now he's gone through the first pretty quickly. He clearly wants to come back for the second, and they do get back for 2. Yeah, Hutton was determined, I think, to have 2 there. Just dropping it to square leg. Lavelle coming up from the boundary. Hurst, actually, the keeper, running out towards the square leg umpire. It was a race between them both as to who could get there first. Hutton adds 2 to his total. The score moves on to 165 for 8 in the 44th over. Hutton on 13 from 17 balls faced. And Bailey, this will be his final over into his 10th. It's chipped up to mid-on by Brett Hutton, fielded by Dame Villas, and there's no run.
Only been to the crease 4 times in this season's competition, Brett Hutton, top score of 15. That was here against Hampshire.
Well, that's well within reach. There's plenty more beyond that for a new top score for the season. In the one-day cut for Hutton, here comes Bailey, balls to him. That's worked off the inner half of the bat. Again to mid-wicket, and again he wants to come back for 2 on this occasion. Williams comes up from the boundary pretty quickly and unable to turn and add another one to his total. So he moves on to 14 not out, and the Notts Outlaws are 166 for 8 in the 44th over at Welbeck Cricket Club, on the live stream and on the BBC Sport website and app and 5 Sports Extra. It's the Metrobank one-day cup fixture, final round of group games before the knockout stages either side of the weekend. Barely balls and driven by Loughton, fielded by Jennings in extra cover, and there's no run. When this is on Sports Extra, there will be 100 games for you, double headers this afternoon. Northern Superchargers against the Welsh Fire, the women's match first up at 3 o'clock, followed by the men from 6:30 tonight. One-day cup games continuing via the BBC Sport website and the app. There's Bailey in and balls, that's worked away into the offside by Loughton, and there's no run. It's the end of the over, 166 for 8 with 6 overs left. Hutton 14 and Loughton, he's on something as well, but the scoreboard's gone off, so I can't tell you.
It's almost like a metaphor for the Notts batting, isn't it? This marquee creaking and swaying and just about managing to stay up now. I think it is structurally sound, but there's been a lot of creaking out there in the middle in this Nottinghamshire innings. But they've only got 6 overs to go now. Loughton and Hutton. Imagine particularly when Brett Hutton's on strike, as he is now, might look to get on with it. Backs away, chops it down the ground, moves on to 15, so that equals his highest score of the competition this year. Loughton did go out there and play quite a fluent innings at Radlett the other day, got 44 down there. So he can also give the ball a wobble, but give it a bit of a whatever word I was going to say then. I was distracted by seeing how many balls he's faced. 18 Morley bowls, and he has dragged this onto the leg side for a single. 68 for 8. It's not many, but it's more than they look like getting.
It is, yeah, it is. Grateful for 2 half-century partnerships.
Morley to Hutton. He's chipped this in the air, but all the fielders on the leg side are out deep, including Bell. Single taken. Again, mightily impressed by George Bell whenever I've seen him batting, keeping, fielding. Again today he's done really well out there in the deep. Morley bowls, and that's a very expansive looking swish outside the off stump from Loughton. Gets nothing on it, and it goes through to Hurst. Next ball is sent down, and this time it is slapped into the offside by Loughton. Gets another single. I see that Danny Lamb's playing somewhere else at the moment.
He's at Somerset. Yeah, he's on loan to Somerset, and he's joining Sussex at the end of the season.
70 for 8. There's Morley with his left arm spin, bowls to Brett Hutton. Another single taken. Now is the cry as Balderson comes in from the long on fence. They settle for 1. So Hutton will keep strike. He's got 17, 171 for 8. There's 5 left. Crikey, can they muscle their way up to 200? And there's been plenty of games won with scores of 171 for 8, even if they don't get any more. But just imagine it's light. Certainly we were talking about 250, 260 minimum at the start of the day for whichever side batted first. That's clearly not going to happen. It would be somewhat miraculous if they did get 70 or 80 in the next 5 overs. And there is a bowling change who's coming on at the far end.
It's George Balderson. Return for Balderson. He bowled previously 7 overs, 1 for 27. Birdie's bowled out 10 overs, 2 for 22. Starts with a slow ball, which Hutton defends to mid-off, and there's no run. Kent have lost a 4th wicket, but it's not Daniel Bell-Drummond. He's still going, 147 not out. Kent at 292 for 4. 43 overs gone for Kent in their innings against Hampshire. 292 for 4. Durham have got past 200 in their match. 212.5 against Gloucestershire. Balderson to Hutton, that goes high towards the leg side. Could be caught, and is. Williams on the deep mid-wicket boundary. I think, yes. Williams for Lancashire. Catching a skyer from Hutton. Balderson picks up his 2nd wicket. Notts Outlaws are 9 down now. 171 for 9. Hutton going for that big shot, having hit a 6 in that direction just in the previous over. Went again and caught out in the deep.
Highest score of the one-day campaign for Brett Hutton, 17. He's going to be replaced by Dane Patterson, who hung around with Matthew Montgomery towards the back end at Canterbury on Thursday. Hit a couple of crucial boundaries to help get Notts over the line. Don't know how he's going to play this. Tom Loughton's 5 from 21. Patterson's natural instinct is to give everything a little bit of the long lever. I'm sure Tom Loughton's saying leave it to me, but Dane generally says leave it to me. So this could be interesting. It might be brief,
but entertaining potentially.
There's the possibility, yeah. I wouldn't expect Lancashire to be chasing more than 180. Got to fancy Kent's chances now. I know as long as Lancashire win here, Lancashire go through, but you've got to fancy Kent's chances, because the other thing with that, Hampshire might also be told a target within the club. They might know what they need to overhaul Leicestershire's run rate, so they might not just need to chase 300 plus as it looks like it's going to be. They might need to chase it in, say, 38 or 40 overs to topple Leicestershire's run rate. So there's the possibility that they might lose wickets trying to do so.
Here comes Balderson, and Patterson off the back foot chops the ball away, stopped by Croft at backward point, no run. Yeah, Hampshire and Leicestershire trying to finish top of the group. Leicestershire have played their allotted 8 group matches, so this is Hampshire's opportunity to see if they can try and well, a win will put them onto 14 points level, but as Dave said, the net run rate's the potential issue there. It's worked to mid-on by Patterson, but not for a single.
Did you lose to Leicestershire?
Yeah, they absolutely walloped Lancs. Yeah, at Old Trafford they got 400 and plenty.
Oh, that was that game. Yeah,
Lancs were well short.
And Notts quite comfortably beat Leicestershire at the start of the group. You wouldn't have thought right now they were in this situation where potentially they're going to go on and win it.
Yeah, 7 wins from 8 for the Foxes.
Yeah.
Pushed away in front of square by Patterson for his first run. Pushes the Outlaws onto 172 for 9.
They were another one that had the 100 sides come poaching, weren't they? Because Colin Ackerman was in great form, got a couple of tons for them and was then whisked away.
Yeah, the Group A table, Leicestershire Foxes top 14 points, 7 wins from 8. They've completed their group campaign. Balderson's in, that's pushed defensively into the offside by Loughton for no run. It's the end of the over as well, so there's 4 left, 172 for 9. And Hampshire, a second to win, will pull them level with Leicestershire, and potentially they could leapfrog them if they win well and finish top of the group. Lancashire currently second with 8 points, on run rate better than Kent, who are also on 8 points in
Lancashire
fourth
currently
place.
third, Scott.
Sorry, third with 8 points.
Yeah.
Kent in fourth with 8 points, with a better run rate, so just above them on that. And then Nottinghamshire, the other team that could qualify, are in fifth place with 7 points.
Yeah, so we went through it all at the start. Notts can only get through if they win and Kent lose. Lancashire, if they win here, they're through whatever. And Kent need to win, and they also need a Nottinghamshire win here. So there's your scenario. Lancashire win, and that takes care of business. Lancashire lose, then either Notts or Kent could go through. Notts would go through if Kent lose. Kent go through if they managed to defeat Hampshire. But Hampshire do have something to play for, as we've said. They're going to get a home something. Now, whether it's a home in second place against the third in the other group, or whether they can overhaul the Leicestershire run rate, if they can get a bit of a gallop on to win today, they would go through to a home semi-final, which clearly would be better. Here's Will Williams, back at our end of the ground, bowling to Patterson, strikes him on the pad, runs away to a deepish gully, backward point position, and there's no run.
Group B, we mentioned before, the three teams have already qualified: Gloucestershire, Worcestershire, Warwickshire, but just a little jostling for position there. Warwickshire, who are playing this in this final round, are top currently with 12 points and a very good run rate. Worcestershire are second, they've completed their group campaign, they've got 12 points, and Gloucestershire are third with 10 points. The Gloucestershire win will put them above Worcestershire into second place.
Williams to Patterson, a push and run up to Balderson at mid-on, can't pick it up cleanly, so although they scampered down the 22 yards fairly quickly, they're always going to get the run there. They put the pressure on Balderson and wasn't able to gather it as he would have wished. Single taken, brings Tom Loughton back onto strike, the two batters having a chat. So Gloucestershire and Worcestershire, two of the non-test match grounds, certainly going to make the knockout stages in the other group. Next ball is pulled away by Loughton, and he's pulled it down to long leg. There's a fielder there. When he hit it, I thought, oh, that's into a gap, but masked into the distance. Down at long leg there, the fielder. So only a single. And of course, in this group, Leicestershire going to go through a non-test match ground, and maybe Kent, but the odds would be very much on it being Hampshire and Lancashire right now. The next ball is hit up into the air. Fielder's trying to converge on it, and Dane Patterson's managed to have a slice of luck there. It's quite a big playing area, and he's managed to drop it in there between fielders, although the ball went very high in the sky down towards third. 175 for 9. 20 balls left, or a maximum of 20 legal deliveries left in the innings. 175 for 9. Loughton's been out there for 23 deliveries faced. He's got 6. Williams to bowl to him. He's going to pull that away. We'll get another single out to Aspinwall. More to the total. 176 for 9. Just wonder if it's entirely necessary for Lancashire to be protecting the boundaries as they are here, because for all the fielders in, struggle to see where Notts are going to get a run from, but they know best. The field actually is up on the offside. There's 3 inside the circle, but a fairly deep set field on the leg side as Williams comes in to Patterson. Again, he'll just run it off the face, but he's run it to Croft at backward point, no run. And that is the end of the over. 176 for 9. And we've got 3 overs left here on BBC Radio Nottingham, BBC Radios Manchester and Lancashire, 5 Sports Extra, those of you following via the live stream. 176 for 9. Notts, who won the toss, opted to bat first. They lost Ben Slater for 1. That was already only 7 for 1 in the 6th over. Really was particularly tricky early on to get bat on ball, get any runs away. 9 for 2 in the 7th. Next delivery sees Loughton just try and work it to leg. Nothing on it as it goes through to Hurst. 18 for 3 when Lyndon James shouldered arms to Williams, lost his off stump. 23 for 4 when Matthew Montgomery fell. 42 for 5, 91 for 6, and then partial recovery in the second half of the innings. 148 for 7, 148 for 8, 171 for 9. As Loughton drives this to mid-wicket and yells 2 for Dane Patterson, who does respond and come back. In comes the return, and Patterson safely home. 2 more, 178 for 9. Matches have been won with this sort of score on the board, but this Lancashire batting lineup of Bell, Jennings, Croft, Phelas, Balderson and Lavelle, the top 6. Helped away by Loughton, down to long leg, and has that gone all the way? No, 1 bounce for 4. Short from Balderson, and Tom Loughton gets a well-deserved boundary. Takes him on to 13, 182.
One stage we're in all sorts of trouble. 42 for 5 and then 92 for 6. Now 182 for 9 at the home side.
Yes, we're right at the very end, Lisa, of the Nottinghamshire innings, one way or another. They're 182 for 9, 2.5 overs left. Certainly an under par score as they get another single there. Top scored Liam Patterson-White with 39. And 37s and 32s in that middle order. Sammy King 37, 32 from Dane Shardendorf. Doesn't look as if it'll be enough. Games certainly have been won with scores of lower than this, but Notts 183 for 9 with 2 overs left. Lancashire heavy favourites at the moment. So 183 for 9. Dane Patterson back on strike. Goes to cut this away, but just got a little big on him. Punches it into the offside. Keaton Jennings fields, and then Dane Patterson plays a totally different shot to the one that he actually played when the ball was live. 183 for 9. Balderson figures of 2 for 35. He's got 1 ball left in his 9th over. Here he comes. Past umpire Hartley's left shoulder, and Patterson will drop it on the leg side. And initially I think there was a call of 2, but then they eased up knowing there'd only be a single. So 184 for 9 with 12 balls left.
Kent have brought up 300 but have lost their 6th wicket, and it is Daniel Bell Drummond, the latest wicket to fall, but not before reaching 150 for Kent. And he's 150 runs off 133 balls with 10 fours and 5 sixes.
So he's one that's gone the other way, isn't he? He has been playing in the 100, missed a couple of games, and so was allowed to come back and play for his county. Played against Notts on Thursday and has delivered today. Magnificent player on his day, Daniel Bell Drummond, and today's certainly been one of them. Here's Will Williams, here's Scott Reed.
Williams in and bowling. Short, and Patterson tries to take it on through to the keeper, and there's no run. Kent 304 for 6 in the 46th over of their match against Hampshire.
330's on, isn't it?
And Durham are 228 for 5 after 43 overs in their match in Bristol against Gloucestershire.
Might be James Vince won't be with of course he won't be with Hampshire. Got Nick Gubbins skippering the side.
Short again by Williams, and Patterson ducks underneath it. Through to the keeper, no run.
They'll all be sharing a ferry back to the mainland later on.
It's quite a novel way of getting to go watch a game, isn't it? I quite like it. Jumping on the ferry.
Yes, Notts did that in 2019.
184 for 9, so a couple of dot balls to start the 49th over. Williams balls again, and again Patterson takes the delivery on, tries to drag the ball from outside off stump through the leg side. 3 times he's been done by Williams.
Umpire Simon Widdup likes a wander between deliveries. You don't often get that from the umpire at the standing end. He's often had a bit of a wander.
Dot, dot, dot to start the 49th over. Williams has got 3 balls left today. He balls, that's off the back foot and pushed up into the air through the offside out towards extra cover. And they get through for a single. Patterson moves on to 5 and the score moves on to 185 for 9.
Yeah. Keaton Jennings could make a mess of this in double quick time. You fancy a victory target of less than 200. Or...
Well, they lost chasing a relatively modest total a couple of weeks ago. They were set 230 to beat Hampshire and didn't get there. That's pulled out towards square leg, straight to Bell. Loughton goes for 14. Williams picks up his 3rd wicket, and knots are all out for 185. Tom Loughton pulling the ball out towards the square leg boundary where George Bell takes the catch, maybe 2 or 3 yards in from the rope. Nottingham should have been bowled out after 49 overs for 100, well, to 48.5 to be precise, for 185.
Yeah, clearly they will feel they've left some runs out there. And Seba Mead won the toss at 10:30. Would have been hoping, thinking, expecting his side to certainly have been challenging 300 on here. 260 has been a winning score the first 2 matches this year in this competition. Not nowhere near that. 185 all out. Nobody made 40 in truth. Top score of 39 from Liam Patterson-White, 37 Sammy King, 32 Dane Shardendorf. But it was the manner in which Lancashire really kept Notts at close quarters in those opening 10 overs that really did the damage. By that stage 3 wickets had gone. The 2 openers had perished early on. Slater for 1, Martindale for 6 and Lyndon James for 2. Matthew Montgomery, who made 90 odd last week, to keep Notts very much in with a chance of making the knockout stages. He fell for just 3, and he did fancy they'd be lucky to see half the innings out. They did recover in the second half. Mead went 42 for 5, 91 for 6, so to get up to 185 all out is a pretty decent effort. Still feel it's way under par, and Lancashire will be heavy favourites. Lancashire know they can take business themselves, get this 186, and they go through to the knockout phase. Notts need to win and then hope that somehow Hampshire can defeat Kent. So that's it. When the players return, we will return with commentary on the Lancashire run chase. And just a quick reminder for those of you that have been watching the pictures, if at some time during the interval before you come back for the Lancashire reply, you just refresh your monitor, your tablet, your screen, and that should just get everything nicely rebooted back into sync. So 185 Notts have made. Lancashire require 186 to win this and go through to the knockout phase. We'll be back when the players return in about 25 minutes time. Hope you join us then.